Hey, what's up? It's Keanu from the 808 Whip Co. And today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of indie style nylon bullwhips that I finished yesterday. This one is an 8-footer in coyote brown. This one is a 10-footer in chocolate brown. So they both start off with an 8-inch steel handle with a 3-strand core. And over that is a 4-plat, 8-plat, and 12-plat belly. And it's all finished off with a 16-plat overlay, starting off in your diamond or checkerboard pattern, transitions off into the herringbone, tapers all the way down the thong to your traditional Australian fall hitch. Got your white fall and your black nylon cracker. The heel knots are 5-part 4-bite 3-pass Turk's heads, and the transitions are 5-part 4-bite 2-pass Turk's head knots. You got your 6-plat wrist loop, and both of these whips are waxed. The 8-footer comes in at 1 pound 4.7 ounces, while the 10-footer comes in at 1 pound 8.9 ounces. So I know I'm going to get the question about if there's electrical tape at any point in these whips. So I'm going to say right now that at no point do I use electrical tape. So is there electrical tape? No. No, at no point do I use it. But while we're on that note, I want to say that there's also no use of BBs or lead shot in these whips. And the reason I did that is because if a customer were to opt out of having the whip waxed, then my fear would have been that if the whip was exposed to moisture, that all the water would hit the core and actually cause the BBs to rust from the inside out. And my solution to that was to just completely do away with a steel shot core and just replace it completely with nylon. And I know a lot of people would think that the whip would become light as a feather, and that's what I thought too, until when I finally tried it out, what I ended up getting as an end result was the exact opposite. Even without the wax, these whips are actually heavier than the whips I used to make, which had the BB loaded core, an 8 and 12 plat belly with a 16 plat overlay. So I'll leave it at that in terms of weight. For screen accuracy, which I know some people are wondering, it's not going to be screen accurate, plain and simple, because with kangaroo hide, you can control the width of the kangaroo hide by cutting the strands wider or skinnier as you please. With nylon, you're kind of stuck with a fixed diameter or stuck with a fixed width on the coreless paracord all the way down. So you're not going to be able to get it super screen accurate, but it's, in my opinion, it's close enough. For the fall hitches, what I've done is I've actually added it in a 4-plat, and the reason why is because if you actually look at the 6-plat versus 4-plat, right about here is a 6-plat, and at 4-plat, you can kind of tell how much of a taper difference it makes. So I did away with a 6-plat point, and I actually ended it in 4. But the thing that some people might notice is that it actually ends in 5 loops here, and the reason why is because I have the 4 overlay strands, and the 5th strand is actually the core strand. What I used to do is I used to just leave the core strand with the rest of them just by itself. No hitch, just sitting out there. And one mistake I made is that when I went to go tighten up these loops, because eventually at some point after a lot of heavy use, this is going to loosen up. So to tighten it, you take a pair of pliers and you pull on these strands to tighten up that hitch. And I wasn't careful enough, and I pulled on the core strand, and it just became the Chinese finger trap, where when you pull it down, when you push it together, they become loose and sloppy, and when you pull it, it becomes nice and skinny and tight. So to combat that and make it kind of less reduces the chances of inadvertently doing that, I've actually tucked the core strand backwards so you won't be able to pull on it and scrunch it up like how I mentioned earlier. It is tight though, So you won't have to worry about it loosening up for quite some time unless you really put your whip through some hard knocks. For the transitions, what I've done is I've actually extended it a little bit past the handle, and on the original Indy whips, the transitions were extremely short, but in my opinion, I kind of wanted to get away from that because gradually, after some heavy use, it's gonna feel really sloppy, and it's pretty much just gonna be feel like a wet noodle essentially on a stick. And I just couldn't accept that, so I decided to make a nice tight transition here, and you can tell it's not really flexible, but gradually it is going to loosen up, not a whole lot through time, but it will eventually break in just a little bit. So that's just a quick look at these two Nylon Indy whips. They are actually, both of these were actually made for two separate people, but since I had both of them here, I figured I'd just show them off. And I know I haven't made a video in quite some time. In fact, the old format used to be I just show pictures of the whip and then me cracking it. But I kind of wanted to change it up a little bit. So here I'm actually doing some talking and some physical overview of the whips. And I hope to do more of these in the future. And also doing whip reviews, not of my own whips, but of other people's whips that I've collected over the years. So stay tuned for that. We've also got this, I finally put together a nice little workbench board, and that's pretty much, this is going to be, I guess, our background from now on. So expect more of this, and hopefully you'll tune in later. So thank you for watching. It's Keanu from the 808 Whip Co. See ya.